Hello everyone, it's Jared with Dungeons & Javas again, helping you stay up to level up. Here with my friend Andy, and we're here to talk about Legend of the Five Rings. Andy, what can you tell us about it?
All right, Legend of the Five Rings is a living card game from Fantasy Flight Games. This is based on the original collectible card game, which was, I think it was originally produced like right after Magic in the mid to late 90s. And it has existed with AEG for a very long time as a collectible card game, and then it was sold to Fantasy Flight, who took a look at the game, took a look at its successes and flaws, and redesigned it. It is a game where you play one of the great clans of Rokugan, which is a fictional, mystical, kind of Japanese-flavored world. And it's full of politics and conquest, and it's a game that's played head-to-head, where you deck build like Magic does. And it's just really fun. It's a really deep game, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to show you a game turn or two and give you the basics of how to play.
Excellent. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a D&D book based upon the clans? Am I wrong?
Yeah, D&D used, like back, I think it was in 2nd edition D&D, Rokugan was their like Oriental Adventures setting.
Right.
So this world is pretty rich. It's been around for a long time. One of the unique things about Legends of the Five Rings, other than the other LCGs and really the other card games, one of the things that sets it apart is the storytelling aspect of it. Because in this game, there's a lot of people who play this game for the clans, and they have a lot of clan loyalty. So they go to tournaments, like major tournaments around the country, and local game shops, and regional and like world tournaments. It's played all over the globe, and people really latch onto a certain clan.
Right.
And so what that means is that when you play in the bigger tournaments, the winners of the tournament get to decide a story aspect. So almost like a choose your own adventure. They have like story options for how the game is going to move and what direction is, and the people who win the tournament get to choose that.
Oh, wow.
And so the players have a big chance to kind of shape the game going forward in terms of story. And there's a lot of story. So Fantasy Flight, will link their page on this, but they have tons of story content that they have released based on what's happened in tournaments, and it's a really interesting, if you like this type of thing, it's really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that's a real big draw for it, is that people really latch onto the story, and they have a way to kind of shape the game going forward.
Excellent. All right. Well,
we're going to set up, and then we'll see in just literally seconds.
We're back.
Hey, we're back. Okay, so Legends of the Five Rings. So I've got this nifty playmat, which you can also get at the store. Fantasy Flight makes really good like 2-player mats anyways, but this is a really nice one to evoke the flavor of the setting. We're going to just kind of show you like the basic setup. We're going to go through the sequence of the phase sequence of how to play the game, and then we'll break, and then we'll just kind of talk about the experience a little bit. So Jared's going to be playing the Lion Clan, one of the 7 clans of Rokugan, and I'll be playing the Dragons. The Lion is kind of like the militaristic but very honorable clan that protects the emperor with their legions of warriors and samurai, and then the dragons are the enigmas in the mountains, the monks, and those kind of people
with like tattoos and stuff.
With tattoos and stuff that do all sorts of different things.
Right.
All right. So in the game of L5R, one of the cool things is the setup. We've already kind of set up the game. You play with 2 decks. You have your conflict deck, which is this card, which is basically your hand of cards like events, attachments, and other tricks. And then your main deck is this back to it. This is your dynasty deck, which has all of your characters in it, and holdings, which we'll hopefully see all of those different things. Everybody has a stronghold. So mine is the Mountains Anvil Castle, which we'll kind of put up here. And then Jared's is the Yojin no Shiro, which is the Lion Clan stronghold. And the strongholds will give us a lot of information to start. It'll have like a bonus strength, which we'll talk about in a little bit. All of them will have some kind of a special action that they can do. And then it gives you your starting honor, which is the little red number, has these are honor tokens here. And then it also has the influence value, which we can talk about on the exit. Okay. But needless to say, the influence deals with deck building and how you can have other clans join your cause. All right, so let's get everything set up. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to place from your Dynasty deck face down. You're going to fill your provinces with one card on your provinces. The provinces are secret locations and areas of your domain that you've selected in deck building. And the object of the game, there's 3 ways to win. It's always good to talk about how you win a game before you play it. The most common way to win is by attacking militarily and politically your opponent's strongholds. So if I were to attack 3 of Jared's strongholds and break them, which we'll talk about when we do the conflicts, then that unlocks the province that you have underneath your stronghold. Once you've broken 3, you can attack the stronghold, and if you break that one, you win. That's the military victory. The other way is to gain 25 of these honor tokens. Very difficult. Very difficult to do. But if you get to 25, you immediately win. Likewise, if you lose all of your honor, you will lose by dishonor. So that's three ways to win. Okay. Most common is the military, and that would be what you would be concentrating on as a lion player. Okay. We have these nifty ring tokens, which we will get to in just a moment. And we have a wonderful first player token. So we've already determined that in this game, before we set up, that I was going to be the first player. So I'm going to take the first player token. Okay. Now in the rules, it's important to note that in the rules in this game that you would buy, it says the person who is the second player would gain a fate, and this is the currency of the game. This has been changed. This has been errated in the rules.
They decided it was too powerful?
Yeah, it just became nobody wanted to be the first player. They all wanted to be second player because fate is really important. So, Jared, you're going to take 7 of these fate tokens, these little chrysanthemum tokens. And the reason why they're chrysanthemums is because that is the symbol of the emperor in the world. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We start with 7, and that's what's on your stronghold, in that middle number on the stronghold. Okay? So this is our currency. So we have fate. This is called fate. There's no gold in this game. It's just all fate. Okay, so next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw 4 cards from the top of your conflict deck. Okay. Now, at this point, both of us would be able to mulligan. And what mulligan looks like in this game is you would be able to peek at what you've got coming up. All right. Okay, and then you can choose any number of cards in your that are in your provinces. Like I'm going to take this one and I'm going to refill it because I don't need this one, and I'm going to shuffle it back into my Dynasty deck. So you get to basically, it's a kind of a cool mulligan rule because you can just kind of take some cards and you refill it. You don't have to shuffle it and then do it because sometimes you might get the stuff you didn't want anyways.
Right.
And you can do the same thing with your conflict deck, and I'm going to keep all of my conflict cards. You just set those aside, and then you could basically make sure you have 4 cards to start, and everything else gets shuffled back in. Okay, so we are ready to start. We have a first player, we have our starting honor, we have our starting fate, we have provinces filled, and we've drawn cards and mulligans. Now, here's the thing with L5R. If you are a fan of really deep and you like a pretty complex game, then this is a great game for you. This is it's a mental workout, and it's a lot of fun and it's super thematic. But there are a lot of little moving parts in this game, so that's why I think it's good to have like a turn-based explanation of this game. Okay, so the first thing you do is the Dynasty phase, and in the Dynasty phase, you gain fate, and then you reveal that we're going to reveal our provinces. So we're going to open up and see what we got. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at some of these options. So here is an example. Here's the Imperial Storehouse. This is a holding. Holdings don't come into play. They stay in your province. They usually have a bonus strength that they add, and they mostly have an action. So this has an action. I can sacrifice it to draw a card. So it's a card engine. Also, we will have characters. Most of them are going to be characters. And here is a example character here. This is Togashi Mitsu. All right, he is a monk. He's a tattooed monk, And you'll see up in the corner, up on the left-hand side, they have two numbers. Well, they have really three numbers. The top number is the same as the chrysanthemum shape, so as the pink behind it. That's the cost to bring it into play with Fate.
Right.
And then the red number is the military strength, and the blue number is the political strength. You'll also notice that there's a circled number down here, which is called the glory value. And that will come into play when you are honored or dishonored. That happens. Essentially, if you become honored through a card effect, you get a little card that says, "Hey, I'm honored, yay!" Right? But when you're honored, you add that number to your strength. So in this case, if he were honored, he has a 3 glory. His strength would be 7 military and 6 political. He'd be pretty powerful. Likewise, if you're dishonored, you would subtract that number. So the glory, that's what the glory is. And then, like any card game, they're all going to have abilities that do different various things. Okay. So we have that. So starting with the first player, which is me, we're going to bring characters from our dynasty into play. We cannot play any characters or attachments from our hand. You could potentially play an event, but for the most part, it's going to be stuff out of the dynasty deck, out of your provinces, the dynasty provinces. And like almost everything in L5R, it's going to go back and forth. So I'm going to go, you're going to go, I'm going to go, you're going to go, until we pass. Okay? As soon as you pass, you cannot come back in. You're done for this phase. But the first person to pass gains a fate. Okay? So starting with me, we're going to put something in. So I'm going to play the Togashi Mendicant. All right. As soon as you play something, you're going to fill. So he costs 1, so I'm going to pay one fate. Now, here's the really cool thing about L5R. It's one of the coolest mechanics, I think. Because this happens a lot in card games. It happens in Game of Thrones. It happens in Magic all the time. Is where you build up a massive board, right?
Right. Now,
the only way that you can combat it is board wipes, right? And like things like Magic, right? But this game has a fate mechanic. It has the fate to pay it. I can, after I play the character, I could choose to pay additional fate onto a character. The extra fate means at the end of there's a fate phase, and anybody without a fate gets discarded, and anybody with a fate loses 1 fate. So the more fate you put on, you invest in them, the longer they'll stay.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's like a but there's a name for it in the game that they call, it's called a Mono no Aware or something like that. It's a Japanese term of like how the fleeting fates or something, and that people will stay with you. It's the ebb and flow of fate. So there's a natural, like, characters will stay for as long as you can keep them out, and then they'll go away, and you've got to bring other characters in. All right. So I'm not going to pay any additional fate because he's a 1-cost character. I'm just going to bring him out for this turn.
Okay.
So now it's going to go to you.
I'm going to bring out Akoto Centauro.
Okay. All right.
Something like that.
All right.
I'm going to pay 4. So 3 what it costs to bring him out, and then 1 additional.
Right. So that's not a bad investment. He's a 3-cost character. Usually the higher cost characters have more of an ability. We'll talk about this one. This is one of the newer cards. We'll basically we'll just kind of worry about this ability later. All right. So right now he's a really good 3-cost military character. Okay. So that's going to come back to me. And I'm going to play, let's see. I'm going to pass. I'm going to just play 1 character this turn. So I'm going to take a fate for passing. Okay. Now I cannot take any more actions. And then don't forget, you refill. As soon as you play, you refill. Okay. So now you can go back to you, and you can do as many actions as you can until you can't do any more actions.
I'm going to play her.
Okay.
Pay 1 to 1.
Use your fate here.
Oh, whoops.
Okay.
It cost 1 to play her.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put 1 on her,
Okay.
which after 1 or more fate is placed on this character, gain an honor.
Great. So you're going to gain 1 honor, and now you are at 13 honor.
Right.
Because you start with 12. You have the lion as the highest starting honor in the game. I have 11. Okay. So so then it comes back to me. I've already passed. So then we still go back to you if you had anything you wanted to do.
I don't think so.
Like you could at this point you could take an action and discard your Imperial Storehouse and draw a card, but you could also do that in after the next phase too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now we go to the draw phase, and you're gonna need your little. Let me grab my. Okay, so Fantasy Flight always has really cool tokens and stuff. All right. So they have what's called an honor dial, and this dial has a number from 1 to 5. And in the draw phase, what we're going to do is we're going to bid. It's called an honor bid. So you're going to choose a number between 1 and 5. That is the number of cards you're going to draw from your conflict deck and add to your hand. There's no hand size in this game. So you can have your whole deck in there if you can draw that many.
Right.
But here's the thing. Why wouldn't I always choose 5? Because if I chose 5 and you decided, I'm going to choose 2, you'll only draw 2 cards, which limits you. And I'll draw 5. That's great. But I have to pay you the difference in honor.
Oh.
So if you choose 2 and I choose 5, I have to give you 3 of my honor. And now I have less honor to deal with. Remember, you lose by having no honor, and then you gain 3. If you get to 25 honor, you win. So there's a balance of card draw and honor,
Okay.
which is cool. So now we're going to pick. Okay, and we put them face down, and then we reveal. I chose 5, you chose 3. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 of my honor because I bid higher than you. So you are now, what, 15 honor. All right, now we draw cards equal to the number we selected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then we'll set these aside, and you leave them with the numbers up because there are some cards that might reference who bid higher or lower on the dial. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to matter, but that's what it means. Okay. Now, that's the draw phase. At the end of each of these phases, basically, you could play actions if you wanted to. Like, for example, I'm going to take an action.
Okay.
All right, as it goes with the first player, I'm going to discard my Imperial Storehouse. Or refill the province, and it says sacrifice this holding to draw a card. I'm going to draw yet another card. I've got plenty of options in my hand now, right? You could also do the same thing too, because you can't play anything out of your provinces anyways, and it'll get you back up to almost as if you drew 5 cards anyways.
Okay.
Right. So bidding low for you is not necessarily bad because you have the ability, and then you can take that action as well. I'll pass, and it goes back to you. If you want to take that action, you can, or you can wait.
I'll go ahead and use it now.
Okay. And then you draw another card and refill your province. Oh, and you refill it face down. Oh my god, that's the honor general. Don't tell him.
Sorry, my
I
fault.
won't tell anybody.
My fault.
All right, so that's the draw phase.
Okay.
Pretty easy exchange of honor and cards, right? Now we're at the conflict phase, which is the meat of the game. So during the conflict phase, starting with the first player, me, we can initiate up to 2 challenges. 1 of each type, political or military. Okay. To do this, there are a few steps that has to happen. I have to select a character. So I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to push him forward. The Togashi, I can choose, if I had more characters, I can choose any number of characters to be in on the attack. I'm going to choose him to attack, and I'm going to choose one of the rings. Now, there's a phase sequence card, but on the back of it, they tell you what all the rings do. So this is a really cool mechanic too. So it rewards you for picking a ring, and it shows you the ebb and flow of the whole theme of the game, of the 5 rings, right? Of the elements. So I'm going to choose a ring here. I'm going to choose, let's see, I'll choose the Earth Ring. Okay, Earth Ring is a pretty good one to do. All right, so I'm going to choose to do this as a political challenge. So both of these sides, so here's the Earth Ring, gives you a symbol. There's Earth, that's military, and on the back is political. So I choose a ring, I choose a person, and I'm going to choose one of your provinces. Okay, so I will say I'm going to choose this one. So you immediately reveal the province, and it's scary because we don't know exactly what that is. So flip that over, and what are we dealing with?
Meditations of Tau.
Meditations of the Tau. Okay, so that's Meditations of the Tau. It has a province strength of 4, which is the strength I would need to break it past your defenses. It has an action. During the conflict at this province, choose an attacking character and remove a fate from the character. I don't have any fate, so this is, I got a little lucky with, because you won't be able to really use that ability because I don't have any fate. Now, if you did that to me, as an action, I could pull one of these fate off. And as we talked about, characters with no fate during the fate phase will disappear from the place. Okay, now we've done all that. So it's a political Earth challenge or a conflict at that province. Now you have the option to defend.
So I can defend with her because she has
a political
of 2. Mm-hmm. I will choose to defend with her.
Great. Okay, so here we go. Our first conflict. She's moving forward. Okay, so right now, and sometimes I use dice, so we'll use that just because it's sometimes a little easier to track. So we'll set yours at a 2, all right, and I'm at a 1. So right now, I'm attacking with a strength of 1 versus strength of 2. If we were to both, now we're going to have actions and we're going to pass back and forth, starting with the defending player. All right, so in this part of the phase, the actions are the stuff you play out of your hand. What you're trying to do is make sure you win. All right, now as a defender, all you have to do is win. All right, because the attacker gets to trigger the ring effect, the defender doesn't. So right now you could pass your first action to see what I'll do because right now you are winning.
Okay, I will do that.
All right, so you'll pass your in the dynasty phase when you bring characters into play from your provinces. The first person passes gains a fate, but then you can't come back in. In this game, during the conflicts, you can pass, but you can re-enter. It's when we both consecutively pass that the conflict's over.
Okay.
So you're going to pass to see what I do. All right. So I'm going to pay 1. Dragons, one of the shtick of dragons is that they have a lot of attachments, which is why I want a lot of cards. So I'm going to play the Jade Masterpiece, which is an attachment. It costs 1. I'm going to put it right onto him. It has an action. It says, bow this attachment, choose an unclaimed ring, and move a fate from the chosen ring to another unclaimed ring. Now, there's no fate on these rings yet, which we'll see, but it does give me a +1 to my political.
Okay.
Which changes this to a 2, and now I'm winning because the attacker wins ties.
Okay.
Okay. So I am winning but not breaking. I have to get another 4 to break the province.
Okay.
Okay. So now it's going to go to you. Now you have the option to play an attack, some kind of a
card.
Some kind of a card, yeah.
I will pass again. See if you can do anything to try to break the province.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna pass because I don't feel like I have enough in there to really break the province right now. So I'm content with just winning the challenge. Okay. So we both passed. We check for a couple of things. One, is it an opposed challenge? Yes, you have opposed it. The character's there, and someone's is actively defending. Right. If you didn't have anybody, you would lose an honor. If you chose not to defend.
Okay.
But you did. Okay, so I've won. And then I'm going to claim the ring, which means I'm just going to put it over here on my side. And I'm going to claim the ring's effect, which is if I win an Earth ring, the attacking player draws a card, more cards for me, okay? And I discard 1 card at random from your hand. So I might see if I get something juicy. Yes, that's a pretty good one. Okay, so that's going to go in your conflict discard file. Okay, so I've stripped you of some of your things. Now, the last thing that happens is that both the characters that participated come home bowed. All right, so instead of tap on tap, it's ready and bow. Okay, these are gone. All right, so now if something that's bowed, unless they can stand, they cannot participate in defense, attack, blah blah blah. So I have right now no defenders.
Okay,
that was my political conflict. Now it goes to you, and you get to do a conflict.
Okay. I'm going to do a military conflict.
Yes, I figured you would.
Yeah, and I'm going to do air.
Okay, so air. So let's talk about a couple of these things. So air allows you to take an honor from me or get 2 from the bank.
Right.
Okay. Water allows you to stand any character you control or bow a character I have that has no fate. Fire allows you to honor a character or dishonor a character. Water, we did the water that was standing. And then void, if you win that, you can pull a fate off of a character. So you're choosing to go military, air, and now which province would you like to go to?
We'll go to this one.
Okay, you're gonna go over here. All right, so we're gonna flip this over. Oh, this is a really good one. Awesome for me. Okay, restoration of balance. This is a province, but it's a dragon clan province. It's this, each of the clans will have like provinces that you can put in, like from your card pool. Like meditations on the Tau is neutral, so anybody can put it in. So this one says reaction. After the province is revealed, your opponent chooses and discard cards from your hand until you have 4 or fewer cards. So that big hand size was going to go down to 4. That's what you have to do right now.
I have to go down to 4?
Yeah, you have to basically choose 4 to keep. Which actually for you is not that... if I ran into that right now with my hand of like 12 cards, that would be really, really awful for me. So I'll let you figure that out here. So military air at that. And that's a reaction ability. That just happens no matter what. All right, so those get discarded. So now it's going to come into me. Okay, so I get the first action as a defender. As you notice, I have nobody to defend with. But I have there are characters that exist in your conflict deck.
Right.
Like surprise characters kind of a thing. So I'm actually going to play one of those right now because I saved my fate. So I am going to pay 1. And by the way, when you play a character out of your hand, you have the option of doing 2 things. You can play it. Here's my Tattoo Wanderer. So it's a monk. Interestingly enough, you could play this Tattooed Wanderer as an attachment, as a tattoo onto a character, which I'm not going to do right now. I'm going to play him just because he's a 2/1, right? You can play him right into the conflict.
Okay.
Or you can put him at home, your choice. So I'm going to put him right into the conflict. So now I'm going to be defending with a strength of 2 because I have a 2 military to your 3.
Okay.
Okay. So now this is going to go starting with me, which I just did. So I started with me. I played my action. So now it's going to go to you.
I'm going to attach a
Fine Katana.
Which adds 2
to your military. So that's going to get you up to a 5. All right, so we'll throw this here. It's kind of easy for you to read that way. We'll give you your bonus. So it's a 5 to a 2. So right now, just so you know, if I passed, you would be winning by 3. You have a 5 to my 2, right?
Right.
The province strength is 3, so you would be winning and breaking because you have met the strength.
Okay.
Okay. So if I don't want this to break, I've got to do some other things. So I'm going to. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play Let Go. It's a 0-cost event. Choose an attachment and discard it. Let go of the katana, Jared. Let go of the katana.
All right, so that takes me back down to 3.
Okay. And that's right. So you're still winning, but you're not breaking. So now it goes back to you. And one of the things about L5R is that you always have to consider, well, how many resources do I want to turn in, like, to be able to do, like, break the province or whatever. Here we go.
Do Way of the Lion. During a conflict, choose a lion character, double that character's base military skill until the end of the conflict.
So now it's at a 6 and breaking. So every clan has a way of, which is I like the art because it's like that old kind of Japanese, like rice paper drawing, I guess is what they call it, or whatever the style is. All right, so that's a 1-shot. You've doubled. Oh, you lions. Okay, so it's my turn now. Well, I can't let go of that because it's. All right, I'm gonna play a 0-cost attachment. I'm gonna put a centipede tattoo on my wanderer. It does not boost any strength. However, it says attached characters does not bow as a result of conflict resolution in which it lost. So if I do lose this, he's not going to bow. So I'll be able to use him again.
Okay.
So that goes to you.
I will pass.
All right, so you're winning and breaking. Now I've got to figure out what I want to do. All right, I'm going to play Hurricane Punch, which is an action, 0-cost. During a conflict, choose a participating monk character. He is a monk. That character gets +2 strength until the end of the conflict and draw a card. So now you're still winning, but not breaking. That goes back to you.
I will still pass.
Okay, and I will pass as well. I'll
Okay.
pass. So, it's opposed. You have won, but you did not break. So you're going to claim the air ring. Okay? And then as a result of the air ring being won, you either take one of my honor or you gain 2 honor for yourself.
I will take one of yours.
Okay, so you can take one of mine. So you're at 16 honor. You're actually playing the honor game pretty well. They get a nice boost. That 12 honor to start is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we send these. We send them. I lost, so my guy goes home, but does not bow because of my centipede tattoo. All right, now it goes back to me. So you've done a military. I've done a political. So I cannot do another political. If I do a challenge, it's got to be military. So I'm going to actually do that. All right, so I'm going to do military void at Meditations on the Town. I'm choosing this because that action's not going to hurt me, and God knows what's underneath there. You could have something horrific. The hidden elements. So you'll hopefully see them all, and hopefully hit them all at the right time because you don't know exactly what they are. Okay, so I'm going to go there again. Now, and I'm going with the Tattooed Wanderer. Okay, so right now I have a strength of 2. I have strength of 2. Okay, so now it goes to you. Now, if you had a character in your hand that costs 1, you could play it.
I do. Pay 1.
Oh, nice.
So I have Icona Reservist.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the character gets +2 military while you have claimed the...
Well, it's like the water or the fire.
Right, which are...
Are the 2 that are left. So it's a 1. But you're defending.
Right.
All right, so it's a 2 to 1. So now it's my turn. I think I will pass. I'm going to pass.
I will pass as well.
Okay, so I'm going to hang on to that stuff right now. So again, I'm not able to break it, but I do claim the ring. And I'm going to pull a fate off of that because that's the void ring. That's what it does. So that was at least good for that. And then I will pay... I'm not going to play that. I have something I could play, but I'm not. So they come home bowed. All right, so I've done my 2. It goes back to you. If there was a way for you to stand up somebody and ready them, then that's what would happen.
Okay. I will pass.
So that is a conflict. Okay. And as you can see, the conflicts get pretty intense because it's back and forth. It's almost like you're dueling. Okay, so that is that's the conflict phase. All right, that's where the meat of the game happens. At the end of the conflict phase, what we do is we are going to figure out who gets the Imperial favor. Now, he was bowed, and all my guys were bowed. So you would count the glory, that circular number, the glory count of each of the standing characters, of which we had none, and then each of the claimed rings. So I had 2 to your 1. So I would gain the Imperial favor. So there's a card, and it has a +1 political or a +1 military, and when you claim it, you're going to choose. So I'm going to choose military, and I'm just going to put it on my side. So I'll have a +1 to my military challenges or conflicts next turn. All right, now the fate phase, a bunch of stuff happens. The first thing that happens is that any characters that do not have fate on them are discarded, including everything that's attached to them. So I'm going to lose these 2 guys and make sure they go in the correct discard piles, and then I lose both of my attachments. There are some keywords that will put them back in your hand, but I don't have it. Then every character that has fate on them loses a fate, but they stay in play. So that's the importance of the fate mechanic. Then last thing we'll do is we'll add a fate to each of the unclaimed rings. And what that means is that whoever claims that, and you'll probably, because this is the first player, you're going to be the first player, you're going to get to choose your conflict first. It entices you to pick that because you're going to gain the fate immediately from taking it. Okay? So that is fate. And then we're going to regroup, which is basically stand everything. And then we're going to pass the first player token to you. We won't play a whole round, but let's just kind of show you what'll happen when the round would start again. What would happen is during the regrouping phase, the last phase of the thing, you could choose any number of cards that you have face up. You don't have any. So if I wanted to, let's say I didn't want to play Togashi Mitsu, like I didn't think I was going to have enough. I could discard him and refill it any number of these provinces, just so I can get another thing. Then, after we pass the first player token, we go back to the dynasty phase. We would gain fate, so you would gain 7 fate, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I would gain 7. So I saved a bunch.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would end up with 12 fate for next turn because you can accumulate it. So fate becomes obviously an important commodity. Then we would both flip over any of our all of our provinces and our dynasty to see what we're going to have available for us this turn. You got some good stuff. You have one of your champions. And so then we would do that, and then starting with you would play out of your provinces into the game. And that's the turn of L5R.
And the champion is the symbol that signifies up in.
Well, actually, I'm actually a little wrong. He's not a champion, but he's a 5. He's one of your big characters. So next to the name, there'll be a little symbol, a little chrysanthemum symbol next to them. That just says that they're unique. And so what that means is that you can't have multiple copies of him in play. You can have multiple copies of him in your deck and down here in your provinces. But once you bring him out, you couldn't bring another one of him out. You couldn't have 2 of them in.
Gotcha.
But what they do is, let's say you had him and you paid the 5 to bring him into play, but you had another copy of him. You could discard him into your discard pile and then add a fate.
Oh.
Give him an extra fate. So I mean, it gives it has some benefit,
right, to
keep him into play that way. And usually those big 5 costers have a pretty good ability, so deck synergy or something like that. Yeah, that's a good question. I think we had everything correct. I don't think we had anything like we went back that one step, but I think that's a pretty good representation of kind of what the game is. It's a back and forth game where there is a lot of actions being played. And that's one of the really cool things about it. It also makes the learning curve a little high. So if you like the theme, just be prepared that if you get into the game, it's going to take you a little time to get good at it because player skill matters in this game.
And we're back. We showed you a turn or a round of Legend of the Five Rings, also called L5R. And there's a couple things that Andy wanted to talk about. What else can you share with us?
Well, I think one of the things we didn't get really a chance to talk about is deck building, because that's a lot of why people get into the hobby.
Right.
And so, like all the these games, like the competitive ones, card games have their method of building decks and how they're modified for the hobbyists and us. So, L5R has an influence mechanic. And this was similar to some of their other LCGs. Netrunner had an influence mechanic where basically, in your conflict deck, you're allowed to have there's an influence value at the bottom of the stronghold. Most of them, I think, are 10. And so that just says that you can put up to 10 influence of another clan's cards in your conflict deck. And at the bottom of some of the conflict cards, you'll see like little bamboo shoots, like usually 1 to 3. 3 is pretty powerful. And that's how that counts. So if it has 3 of those symbols, it counts for 3 to your influence. So, okay. And then that's an important part of it. Like that's how you kind of mix and match, and you get another flavor of another clan, and you do some deck building that way. Plus, you also have 2 decks to build. You really have 3 decks to build. You have your Dynasty deck, which is your main deck. You have your Conflict deck, which is your events and such, your tricks. And then your provinces, you have 5 provinces. You have 4 in front of you, like we showed you, and then you have a province that's placed beneath your stronghold. And in deck building, each of the strongholds has an element attached to it. There's a symbol in the bottom that has an element, and you're supposed to have 1 of each element to keep your lands in balance, right?
Right.
So there's that whole aspect of the deck building part. Places to find some information more about the game, or more about to see some decks and see all the cards. There's 2 sites that I use. One's called 5 Rings DB, which we'll put in the notes, and then Bushi Builder is a really good one too. And again, I have catalog of cards. There's even some video content on there for like how to play and like build decks. And that's sort of a good place to kind of hit if you're interested in the game to kind of see what's out there. It's a fairly new game. I mean, they've had, we talked about with the LCG versus CCG. The distribution model of this is similar. It's got a core set, which will have all the clans represented, and you'll be able to play it out of the box and sample the game. You could not just play competitively with one single core set. If you really get into the competitive nature, one of the things they do, which some people disagree with, I understand why they do it, because they want to show you as many cards as they can. But if you get into it competitively, you're looking at 2 to 3 core sets to be able to have multiple copies of the cards. But then once that happens, the clan packs, like we've showed with like Game of Thrones, they have a monthly pack, which has the next 3 copies of the next 60 cards in it. So once you've kind of caught up with the core set, then you can pick up a cycle. The other thing they did that they're doing differently is that they're experimenting with the distribution model. So Game of Thrones, which I talked about, and I love that game, they've been consistent with just having a single pack a month for 6 months. That's a cycle. This has done that. L5R has done that, but they've also done 6 packs in 6 weeks. They've done like a big box expansion, which is basically a cycle in a box. So they're messing around a little bit with the types of products that they're putting out. They also have clan packs, which is a slightly bigger, like a $20 pack, which is focused on a single clan. Oh. So if you like the Lion, and like I said, this game kind of, I don't want to say rewards like loyalists, but people tend to have a loyalty to a clan. Right. I mean, they'll dress up at the big conventions. I mean, they'll have T-shirts made. They're really support their clan. And as a result, one of the things you can do with this game, if you like it, is you find a couple of friends that also like it. You could split the cards. Like you take all the Lion cards, I'll take all the Crane cards. You take the Scorpion cards, and then you just basically split all those packs because there'll be a little bit of each those things and everything. Again, it's a deep game. Right. This is not a simple game. This is if someone who's really into card games and people like complexity in their games, this is a really good game for them. This has strategy at every single step of the process. Right. Picking the rings, what the fate comes on, what cards you're going to have fate, who's staying on the board. I mean, there's a lot to it. But it's a really cool idea, and they cleaned up the original game. I used to play the original CCG back in the day. And in that game, like when we were playing, when you attacked the province, if you broke the province would go away completely, and then you'd have 3 provinces. Oh. But then you couldn't fill that. So as soon as you lost a couple of provinces, the game's pretty much over. The other issue, too, was if you lost the conflict, all the characters would die. And so if somehow you had like a bunch of characters and they squeezed in a victory, you lose everything. And so the swings in that original game was more apparent. Right. Because the fate mechanic exists in this game, it keeps things in balance. So what you'll find a lot is you might get ahead pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden all your characters will go away because the fate will eventually run out. And then you can have a swing back in the other direction. So the back and forth aspect of the game actually is really cool. There's been a lot of games I've played of this where it's like, man, I got this in hand, and all of a sudden my opponent was able to turn the tables, and then it's a real struggle, to win. Art's beautiful. Fantasy Flight always produces really, really well-designed games, really great components. Their art quality is, I think, second to none. I mean, they really do a great job of presenting a game. So if you like this type of game, L5R is a really cool one. Game of Thrones, and then we'll talk a little bit about the cooperative LCGs at some point, like Arkham, Horror, and
Arkham's great.
Arkham's great, and then Marvel Champions is coming out, which I'm super excited about.
I'm excited about that too.
All right, well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, everyone. Once again, this is Legend of the Five Rings. If you have any questions, you can post comments below, and we'll get back to you. Once again, this is Jared and Andy with Dungeons & Javas, helping you stay up to level up. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.